Good morning, friends. Right now, high above the frozen forests of Scandinavia, something extraordinary is shaping. Sweden is quietly developing a fighter jet so advanced that even analysts at the Pentagon are paying close attention. While China showcases new aircraft like the J-36 and the United States debates the future of its next-generation air dominance program, Sweden is moving differently. No flashy announcements, no dramatic concept reveals, just steady development of what could become one of the world's most advanced sixth-generation fighters. And what they're building might completely reshape the future of air combat. Welcome back to the channel, where we break down the technology behind the world's most powerful military systems. Today, we're diving into one of the most secretive aviation programs on the planet, Sweden's Future Combat Air System, known as the Flygsystem 2020. This isn't just a concept sketch or a research project. It's a funded program already moving through development milestones, while many larger countries are still debating budgets and timelines. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this small Scandinavian nation may be about to shock the entire defense world. Here's the surprising part. When people think of cutting-edge fighter jets, Sweden rarely comes to mind. Most think of the United States with the F-22 and F-35, or China with its rapidly expanding air power. Maybe Russia's Su-57 enters the conversation. But Sweden, a country with a population smaller than Los Angeles County, is now developing technology that defense experts everywhere are watching closely. And there's a reason for that. Sweden has been punching far above its weight in military aviation for decades. Their Saab Gripen fighter has built a global reputation as one of the most efficient and reliable combat aircraft ever designed. Nations like Brazil, Hungary, Thailand, and the Czech Republic rely on Swedish fighters because they offer something rare in modern aviation: advanced capability at a fraction of the cost. The Gripen can even operate from highways and remote locations with minimal maintenance. Sweden learned long ago how to do more with less. But Flygsystem 2020 represents a completely different ambition. This isn't just about affordability anymore. This is about technological dominance. After joining NATO in 2024, Sweden suddenly found itself on the front line of Europe's evolving security landscape. The strategic stakes changed overnight. Swedish planners realized that while the Gripen remains incredibly capable today, the battle space of the 2040s will demand something far more advanced. That realization triggered a new phase of investment. In October 2025, Sweden's Defense Materiel Administration awarded Saab another major contract worth roughly 2.6 billion Swedish kroner, about $276 million, to continue development of this next-generation system. And that's only part of the funding already committed. This isn't a theoretical project anymore. Sweden is moving forward, step by step, building what could become one of the most disruptive fighter programs of the next era. And the most fascinating part? The world still hasn't seen the full picture of what Sweden is actually building. The timeline for this project is moving surprisingly fast. Sweden plans to complete the design drawings for a demonstrator aircraft by the end of 2025. That's just around the corner. After that, engineers expect a flying prototype by 2027, followed by a final decision on full-scale production in 2030. If everything stays on schedule, the Swedish Air Force could have operational sixth-generation fighters flying by 2035. When you compare that pace to other programs around the world, it becomes even more interesting. America's next-generation air dominance program has faced cost debates, and Britain's Tempest project has seen delays. Meanwhile, Sweden is quietly moving forward while others argue about budgets. So, what actually makes this aircraft sixth generation? It's not just a buzzword. These jets are defined by a set of capabilities that push far beyond today's fighters, and Sweden appears to be targeting all of them. The first is next-level stealth. Fifth-generation aircraft like the F-22 and F-35 already reduced radar visibility using special shapes and coatings. Sixth-generation stealth goes even further. Engineers are developing advanced materials that absorb radar across multiple frequencies, drastically reducing detection. They're also working on lower infrared signatures, making the aircraft harder for heat-seeking missiles to track, and even quieter acoustic profiles, meaning these jets could be harder to detect by sound. Saab is researching these technologies with support from companies like GKN Aerospace, which recently received a €59.5 million investment to expand advanced manufacturing for the project. The second major breakthrough is artificial intelligence integration. This aircraft won't just have basic automation. The system will use AI to help pilots process massive amounts of battlefield data in real time. Imagine a co-pilot that never gets tired, an AI that analyzes threats, recommends tactics, manages weapons, and coordinates with other aircraft simultaneously. Instead of overwhelming the pilot with information, the system filters everything and delivers the most important decisions instantly. And then there's the real game changer, manned-unmanned teaming, sometimes called the loyal wingman concept. In this system, a single pilot flying the new Swedish fighter could control multiple combat drones at the same time. Picture a pilot flying over the Baltic Sea while several autonomous drones fly ahead. Those drones can scout enemy defenses, jam radar, fire missiles, or even take the risk of drawing enemy fire. The human pilots stay safer while the drones perform the most dangerous missions. It's like commanding an entire squadron from a single cockpit. Before we go deeper, take a second to like the video and subscribe. More than 98% of viewers watch without subscribing, and your support helps the channel keep bringing you these deep dives into military technology. The drones themselves are just as interesting as the fighter controlling them. Early concepts show sleek, supersonic unmanned aircraft designed with modular parts that share components with both the new fighter and Sweden's current Gripen E. That modular design means lower costs, faster production, and easier maintenance. In fact, mechanics already trained on the Gripen could work on these drones without starting from scratch. That's classic Swedish engineering, efficient and practical. And the overall design philosophy may be the most fascinating part of all. Sweden isn't trying to copy American or Chinese fighters. Instead, they're building something optimized specifically for their own defense strategy. Early concepts suggest a single-engine aircraft with a dual-wing canard-style configuration, similar in some ways to the layout seen on China's J-20. This design improves lift and stability, especially at lower speeds. And that matters because it allows the aircraft to slow down for precision strikes, remain over a battlefield longer, and operate from shorter runways. For Sweden, that's critical because their entire defense doctrine relies on aircraft being able to operate from highways and dispersed bases, not just large, vulnerable airfields.
Sweden's entire defense strategy is built around one idea: never make your air force an easy target. If conflict ever breaks out, Swedish fighters won't be sitting on large, vulnerable air bases waiting to be hit by missiles. Instead, they'll be scattered across the country, operating from highways, forest clearings, and reinforced rural roads. The Gripen fighter was designed for exactly this kind of dispersed warfare, and the Flygsystem 2020 continues that philosophy. Even if an enemy destroys major air bases, Sweden's fighters could still launch from dozens of hidden locations across the country, ready to fight from almost anywhere. The aircraft itself is being designed with stealth at its core. Early concepts show a blended wing-body airframe, where the fuselage smoothly merges into the wings rather than forming separate structures. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about survival. Radar waves hitting the aircraft scatter in multiple directions, instead of bouncing directly back to enemy sensors, dramatically reducing detection. Combine that shape with advanced radar-absorbing materials, and the aircraft becomes extremely difficult to track. The design also includes twin vertical tail fins for thrust vectoring and maneuverability, while engineers are reportedly testing V-tail configurations that could further reduce drag and improve stealth. In true Swedish fashion, every design choice serves multiple purposes: performance, stealth, affordability, and easier maintenance. According to Saab's head of advanced programs, Peter Nielsen, Sweden may actually be in its strongest position ever to develop a new fighter. The country now has a highly trained engineering workforce, fresh from building the Gripen E and the globalized surveillance aircraft. They're also using modern digital engineering tools that allow designers to simulate and test entire aircraft systems on computers before building expensive prototypes. And perhaps most importantly, Sweden has developed a powerful network of international partners, supplying specialized components, while Saab keeps control of the overall design. This approach has already proven successful with the Gripen program. Roughly 85% of the Gripen E's components come from partner companies around the world, but Saab integrates everything into a single Swedish-controlled system. The same model will likely power Flygsystem 2020. Sweden gets world-class engines, electronics, and subsystems from global experts, while keeping design authority and intellectual property at home. That means no foreign government can block Swedish upgrades, restrict exports, or cut off critical technology during a crisis. But here's where Sweden's strategy becomes truly revolutionary. They're not just building a fighter jet, they're building an entire combat ecosystem, something military planners call a system of systems. In this concept, the fighter is only one part of a much larger network. It operates alongside different types of unmanned aircraft, some fast and stealthy for penetrating enemy defenses, others slower and cheaper for surveillance or electronic warfare. All of it is connected through a massive digital network, linking satellites, ground stations, naval forces, and even troops on the battlefield. Inside the cockpit, the pilot of Flygsystem 2020 becomes something closer to a battlefield commander than a traditional fighter pilot. They aren't just flying one aircraft, they're directing an entire aerial operation. Artificial intelligence helps manage the flood of data, but the human pilot still makes the final decisions. Should a drone strike that enemy radar site? Should a surveillance drone push deeper into contested airspace? Should Allied fighters be called in for support? The pilot decides, and the system carries out the command instantly. This approach dramatically multiplies combat power. One Flygsystem 2020 fighter flying with 3 loyal Wingman drones could control as much airspace and engage as many targets as 4 or 5 traditional fighters, yet only one pilot is at risk. The drones themselves can be simpler and far cheaper than manned aircraft. And if one is destroyed in combat, you haven't lost a billion-dollar jet or a pilot who spent a decade training for that mission.
Sweden is also developing a concept they call shared DNA across combat platforms. In simple terms, the new fighter, its loyal Wingman drones, and even the current Gripen E would share many of the same systems: engines, avionics, software architecture, and weapons interfaces. That common design dramatically simplifies logistics and training. A pilot transitioning from the Gripen E to Flygsystem 2020 wouldn't feel like they're learning an entirely new aircraft. Much of the cockpit logic, controls, and operational philosophy would already feel familiar, making the transition faster and far more efficient for the Swedish Air Force. And here's something that could seriously worry potential adversaries. Sweden is already experimenting with autonomous Gripen flights. Not remotely piloted aircraft, but fighters where artificial intelligence can actually fly parts of the mission itself with minimal human supervision. Saab is working with the defense AI company Helsing, whose software specializes in battlefield decision-making and sensor analysis. These experiments are helping build the foundation for the future loyal Wingman drones that will operate alongside Flygsystem 2020, creating formations where manned and autonomous aircraft fight as a coordinated team. Now step back and look at the bigger strategic picture. Sweden is now a member of NATO, positioned right in the middle of one of the world's most sensitive security regions, the Baltic Sea. With Russia on one side and NATO forces on the other, the ability to control the skies over Scandinavia and the Baltic approaches has become critically important. If Flygsystem 2020 enters service in the 2030s, Sweden could field some of the most advanced fighters in the entire region, possibly even outperforming other NATO aircraft in specific missions like dispersed operations, drone coordination, and long-range air defense. This creates a fascinating possibility for the alliance. In the United States, planners are already concerned about the enormous cost of the next-generation air dominance program and whether enough sixth-generation aircraft can be produced. Sweden's approach could offer an alternative. If Flygsystem 2020 proves successful, smaller NATO countries might choose to partner with Sweden instead of developing their own expensive programs. Think about countries like Poland, Finland, Norway, and the Baltic states. They all face similar threats, operate in similar environments, and rely heavily on rapid response air defense. A Swedish-designed sixth-generation fighter built for highway basing, dispersed operations, and Baltic airspace defense could be exactly what they need. Suddenly, a program that started as a national defense project could evolve into a major NATO platform, much like the Gripen became a successful export fighter. And perhaps the most interesting part is how Sweden is approaching innovation. Instead of following the same path as larger programs, they're pushing forward with bold ideas: heavy manned-unmanned teaming, modular combat networks, and shared systems across multiple aircraft types. If these ideas work, Sweden might not just build a new fighter, they could help define how sixth-generation air warfare actually operates in the real world.
Right now, defense analysts across the world are watching Sweden's progress very closely. The first demonstrator flights expected around 2027 will be a critical milestone. If Saab delivers on its promises, if the stealth technology, AI systems, and drone integration perform as planned, it could validate Sweden's entire strategy and influence how other countries design their own sixth-generation fighters. A successful test program wouldn't just be a national achievement for Sweden, it could reshape the global roadmap for future air combat. But let's pause for a reality check, because building a sixth-generation fighter is one of the hardest engineering challenges on Earth. Even the United States, with a defense budget larger than the next several countries combined, has struggled with the enormous costs and complexity involved. Sweden is attempting something incredibly ambitious. The Gripen became famous for being affordable, but Flygsystem 2020 will be a very different story. Advanced stealth materials are extremely expensive. Artificial intelligence requires massive software development, and testing cutting-edge technologies can burn through budgets at incredible speed. The contracts announced so far total hundreds of millions of dollars, but full development and production could easily reach several billions, a heavy investment for a country Sweden's size. There are also serious technology risks. Sweden is stepping into a field where only a few nations have real experience. Can they produce radar-absorbing materials as effective as those used on American stealth aircraft? Can their AI systems rival the advanced battlefield software being developed by the United States and China? And perhaps most importantly, can they successfully manage the complex coordination required for manned-unmanned combat teaming in real operational environments? These questions remain unanswered for now. The timeline itself is another challenge. The plan calls for a demonstrator design by the end of 2025, a prototype flying by 2027, and operational fighters entering service around 2035. That's an aggressive schedule for a program of this scale. Military aircraft development almost always runs into delays. Technical problems appear during testing, designs have to be revised, and budgets can shift with changing political priorities. A lot can happen between now and 2035. And there's still the possibility that Sweden could change course. The final decision on full production isn't expected until around 2030. By then, the geopolitical situation could look very different. Sweden might decide to cooperate more deeply with other programs, like Britain's Tempest, or even purchase a foreign design if the economics shift. Defense planning is always influenced by changing threats, alliances, and financial realities. Nothing in military aviation is ever guaranteed. But one thing is absolutely clear: Sweden is serious. They're investing real money, signing real contracts, conducting wind tunnel testing, developing advanced materials, writing complex AI software, and building partnerships with international suppliers. This is not a paper concept or a flashy marketing idea. The momentum behind Flygsystem 2020 is very real. And that's what makes this program so fascinating. It represents a smaller nation refusing to step aside in the race for the next generation of air power. It combines smart engineering, strategic thinking, and genuine technological ambition. Whether Sweden's new fighter will dominate the skies of the future remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: it will be a serious force in the battle space of tomorrow. The frozen skies over Scandinavia may soon host one of the most advanced fighters ever built. Sweden is quietly shaping the future of air combat, one milestone at a time, and the rest of the world is paying attention. If you found this deep dive valuable, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the technology shaping modern warfare. The next few years will be critical for this program, and we'll be here to cover every development. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.